Hi, Dr. Ankur. It's great to meet you. And thank you so much for taking the time to chat with me today. Before we jump in, I'd love to hear a bit about you and then how you discovered Carnivore, your health journey. How did it all start for you?
Hey man, Joseph, thank you so much for having me over, man. Yeah, it's been long due. We've had a few misses when we wanted to meet up, but yeah, again, I'm glad we're doing this. So I am an emergency physician in India. I've been practicing emergency medicine for almost 20 years now. But that's not how I got into metabolic health. Yeah, so I've been saving a lot of lives. I've been teaching to save a lot of lives, and done a lot of research, emergency medicine research, until one fine day I find out that my triglycerides hit 600. Yeah, and my triglyceride to HDL ratio was 16.1, which I didn't know was a ratio at that time, though. I just knew that my triglycerides were 600, and I realized that I don't know anything about nutrition. Only the fact that my carbohydrate intake is the one that's to be blamed for that. I was put on statins by my cardiologist at that time and some blood pressure medications because my BP also was a little on the higher side at that time. This is about 4.5 years back. But then I started doing my research into metabolic health. I got introduced to Robert Lustig's book called Metabolical, and that took me down the rabbit hole of metabolic health, and I understood a lot more than what medical school ever taught me. That's how I got to know about the triglyceride to HDL ratio and went back to my reports, and I saw that 16.1. So yeah, I mean, the first thing I did was cut off as much carbs as possible. I went completely low carb, lost a bunch of weight, and then I started doing more research. And obviously, I mean, once you go down the rabbit hole, I heard Sean Baker's podcast and I read a lot of other books, but I wasn't fully carnivore at that time. Well, I was low carb, but then I understood what the medications are going to do to me. Although I had prescribed statins to a lot of my own patients, but I didn't want to be on medication, so I just stopped taking statins and the blood pressure medications because they normalized once I went low carb. And then so 2 years, almost 2 years, 2021 July to 2023 April, so almost 1 year, almost 2 years, yeah, almost 2 years of low carb. And then in 2023, one of my cousins sent me Paul Saladino's reel when he was fully carnivore, and it made a lot of sense to me. So I was like, I just have to cut off a little more carbs, and I did, and then it was a game changer. I never looked back because I got way leaner. But when I was low carb, I lost a lot of visceral fat from my face. Also, I mean, there's a lot of visceral fat on your face which people don't understand. It's not just subcutaneous fat, but there's a lot around and your neck and all of that. So I lost a lot of that, became way more leaner, much fitter. A lot of my other symptoms disappeared. Had massive energy. My bladder control was better. My libido went up. My GERD symptoms completely disappeared. I still used to have a little bit on low carb because I was still having a little bit of vegetables or a little bit of rice and stuff when I was low carb. So all of these symptoms disappeared. My muscle strength, my gym strength increased. My stamina increased. Energy increased. As an emergency physician, we're trained to multitask. But then on carnivore, it went on to just the next level. I mean, in like 4 or 5 hours, I would do so many things, and it wouldn't even be like half a day. Like wake up at 8, and by 12, I've done a couple of podcasts and maybe made some content, read a few books, written a paper, all of that. And then I'm like, what? It's only 12. It's not even half of the day, for me. So yeah, I mean, a lot of things that I noticed, and and then I started noticing it in my patients, because all my patients are pure vegetarians. Most of them are pure vegetarians, and I was seeing that their metabolic health was really, really, disastrous. And then I realized that skipping egg and meat or not eating egg and meat is really not helping them. So I mean, just this myth that eating egg and meat is going to make you sick. Well, my population proves that wrong. Not eating it is keeping you sick, right? I'm not saying as if you eat it you're going to be healthy. I mean, I am saying that, but I can't prove that unless you try it, right? So I've had patients after that where I mean, they when they were omnivores or animal based, they were fine, and then they went vegetarian and they became riddled with a lot of illnesses, and then they went carnivore and they reversed all of their syndromes. So yeah, I mean that's my journey in short as of now. Just hand over to you to ask me anything you want.
Dr. Ankur, I think that's very impressive. How you apply discipline. And correct me if I'm wrong. It's sort of like a self-experimentation. How you dramatically improve your metabolic health. To resolve your multiple chronic symptoms, and I guess just the level of commitment you have is just remarkable. And also, you're also healing your patients. I think it's just you're leading by example. It gives a lot of hope to people who really need it. Dr. Ankur, what motivates you to keep going with your journey and creating awareness, doing research, inspiring others? Is it the carnivore community, or is it the current conventional medical approach to nutrition? Are you frustrated with them, or what motivates you?
That's a lot of options that you've given me, but you used one of the correct terms which I really like to use, and that is inspiring others. So I tell people, that don't influence, inspire, because influencing can have a negative direction also. Inspiring doesn't have that kind of a negative connotation to it. So yes, I do want to inspire people by my own journey, by my own experimentation, and I've been doing that. So I do my metabolic health profiles every 6 months, and I've upgraded it, as I'm learning, as I'm relearning and relearning. Maybe I started off with just the basic tests, and then I added a few more tests. Now I do a bigger profile. I've done my elastographies to check my fatty liver. I've done my CT angios. So yeah, I am experimenting on myself, and I'm collecting data for that. Someday I will publish it. I am a published author. I've published about 43, 44 papers. There are a few more which are under review. There are other studies which are still going on. Once they're done, I'm going to write them up and we'll get them published if accepted. So yeah, all of that, and then it's not just me. I experimented on my family after me. So my wife, she reversed her Hashimoto's thyroiditis and hypothyroidism. Her libido went up. Her menses became so much better. She lost a bunch of weight, reversed age as per what the public says. You might have noticed that on my social media also. Then my uncle and some other family members who reversed diabetes and hypertension on this. And then I have my own set of patients for my private metabolic health practice, where they've reversed autoimmune disorders like rheumatoid arthritis and lichen planus, neurological issues, not even neurological issues, but psychological issues like stammering and stuttering, which was a surprise for me. People's eyesights have become better. They've reversed their glaucoma, and thyroid issues, losing weight, uric acids have come down. So all of that motivates me, right? And I've realized that as an emergency physician, I might be saving somebody in that moment of time, but what after that? I have no control after that, because the patients are then admitted and then they're discharged with the same advice. Continue these medications for life and eat whatever you've been eating, because they've been all vegetarian and people think that that's a very healthy diet, and avoid red meat and eggs. And they do that diligently, and they die. They have cardiac arrest, or they come back with another complication. They come back with another heart attack, or a heart attack patient comes back with a stroke, or their diabetes worsens. So clearly we are not helping them, right? So yeah, again, I'll probably again hopefully save them again in that moment of time, or I may not be able to. So I have this thing which I tell my patients, that help me save your lives by not coming into the emergency department. So if you go carnivore, if you sleep well, you reduce your stress, so you manage stress better. A lot of trolls actually say, oh, they must be having a lot of stress in life. Who doesn't, right? If you're living, you have to undergo stress. It all depends on how well you handle that stress. And how well are you going to handle that stress? It all depends on what nutrients your brain has. If your brain's nutrient deficient, you won't be able to handle stress as well as somebody who eats a nutrient dense meal. It's very simple, and then other practices like sleeping properly, blocking out the blue lights. A lot of people do grounding, sunlight in the morning. All of that is so important for your circadian rhythm. It's like a holistic approach. And then you have exercising, like resistance exercising. All of these are really helpful. But again, what you're putting inside your body does matter, and I'm seeing that in all of my patients. And I've had conversations with so many of them who are like, we'll die, but we're not going to eat meat. I said, welcome to my emergency department. You're already here. The next step is probably death. But then, they're so adamant about it, and they're on multiple medications. They've got multiple chronic issues. So, like you mentioned, all those options, there's a tick mark in all of them. The last option was all of the above. So yeah, it's all of that, and a lot of people actually, a lot of trolls are again, your vegetarian population eats only fried foods and oils. I'm sorry, they don't. Those are snacks. The staple is still vegetarian cereals and grains. I mean, they wake up in the morning, they're not going to eat samosas and bread pakoras and all that, the fried stuff. They'll have parathas. It's not fried. They'll have probably bread and some bread and cucumber sandwiches, or bread and jam, or maybe just cereals from Kellogg's. They'll do poha, which is a Western dish. They'll do some idli, dosa, sambar, which are South Indian dishes. That's what the breakfast is. They'll do chickpeas and stuff for morning, sprouts, all of that. It's just a lot of carbohydrates. People misconstrue them as having a lot of proteins, but they don't. They don't have all the essential amino acids. That's how the breakfast is. Then they go to work. That's when the sugar falls again, right? Because they've already had this major insulin spike at breakfast, and then it falls down, right? And that's when they get the fried food, because they've carried their tiffin for lunch. They don't want to eat it before the lunchtime, right? Because again, what are you going to do after that? So at snack time, that's when they order some stuff from outside. They'll order some of the fried foods, have that in a community. All of that happens. Then they have the lunch, which is again vegetarian. Probably they've carried some vegetables and some pulses and some rotis and naans, probably some rice for lunch. They have that. Then before going back home, they have a dip again. They'll end up having some tea with some sugar, and they'll get some biscuits in. They might again get some fried foods in. They'll all sit together, have that, and then they go back home for dinner. Dinner is not fried stuff. Dinner is again, lentils and vegetables and cereals and grains. So, it's not that. The staple is still 70 to 80% non-fried foods. So all of these things, I mean, I've been seeing all of these things, and all of these things have just amalgamated themselves for me. It's like, it's like I've seen the Matrix, and I want others to see it, that we're actually not helping our patients by putting them on medications for life. It's not helping. And another big motivation, I want to see my son, my grandson or granddaughter, whoever, grow up, play with them. I do want to be the healthiest 70, 80, 90-year-old rather than the oldest 40, 50-year-old. I can't say 20, 30-year-old because I've already crossed 40. So I don't want to be the oldest 40, 50-year-old, rather be the youngest 70, 80 or 90-year-old in the room, right? So that's another motivation for me.
That's awesome, Dr. Ankur. You speaking of, I think you mentioned that the staple is vegetarian. For how does your family feels about it? Like, I mean, I guess because you've already reversed many of your family members, relatives, their diseases. I think you mentioned also your wife hyperthyroidism. How did they feel before when you started? I guess looking back then, and how they feel now.
Yeah, so I've actually come from a non-vegetarian background. My parents always used to eat meat. They were omnivores, yeah. I mean, but they would obviously love all their carbohydrates and vegetarian stuff and all. And I did the same, right? But it wasn't that we came from a vegetarian family. My wife came from a vegetarian family. She started eating more meat when she met me, when we started dating about 17 years back, 17, 18 years back. But she went carnivore 1 year after I went carnivore. But before that, even for those two years that I was low carb, I was massively animal based. more than what I was. So I wasn't the usual Indian omnivore who eats meat once a week or once a month, on special occasions. No, I used to have my meat every day, at least one meal. At least one meal would be this, and my breakfast would be eggs or oats and all of that, right? But so I would have more meat than the average Indian. So average Indians consume just about 3.5 to 5 to 6 kilograms per kg per person per year. 3.5 to 5 kgs per person per year. That's the consumption of meat in India, which is absolutely abysmal, right? uh, I used to eat way more than that even then. So even when I went low carb, so obviously I became more animal based and became more meals during the day. And then obviously when I went full blown carnivore, every meal was just meat and eggs. And my wife followed 1 year later, and she's thriving on it. My family usually actually didn't have too many issues, because if they would come over, we would have food for them, because they were all non-vegetarians. And if I would go over, there'll be food for me, and that's been the case since I was born, apparently, because my love for meat is known in my family since I was a child. And there are stories where I would run around in the kitchen with drooling all over if there would be meat being made, or I'll go clucking like a chicken if I wanted to eat chicken. And if there'll be family dinners and all, there'll be like a whole separate dish of chicken or mutton made only for me, and another dish for the rest of the family. So I was probably born with the carnivore instinct. So, but obviously, my family was inquisitive about how it's going and all that, and they've seen the changes over time. And and India, there's this really big, I don't know what to call it, but if you're fat and plump, you're called healthy, and if you're lean and thin, you're called weak. Uh, So yeah, today a few of the female doctors in my hospital who were like very senior to me, they were like, you become so weak, and I was just thinking aloud, thinking in my brain that yeah, this is coming from some people who are pretty round, but I didn't give it back to them. It was a good occasion.
That's very funny. Dr. Ankur, after interviewing several people who experience diabetes remission, on a carnivore approach, I'm already convinced it's a potential benefit in many cases. So one of my channel viewer asked, given your experience, seeing many patients with metabolic complications, they are curious about your perspective, for someone with I'm trying to read this one, with long-standing diabetes or maybe stage 5 chronic kidney disease. Is there any realistic potential improvement, or maybe to stabilize,
Yeah,
maybe carbohydrate elimination? Let's say this specific case, their
yeah.
nephrologist have already suggested to restrict sodium and also recommended dialysis. Do you think at any stage is generally too advanced for a carnivore diet alone to change the course? Oh, sorry, Dr. Ankur. Just to be clear for listeners, this is for general discussion and education, not a medical advice.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I will give my opinion, but it's up to them. So, uh, whoever this person is can definitely do a carnivore diet. The chronic kidney disease, the most important and the the most common cause of chronic kidney disease is diabetes and hypertension, right? Now, diabetes and hypertension in this patient was caused because of the carbohydrate intakes, right? And now the kidney is damaged. It's stage 5. You can't damage it more. You cannot damage it more, right? So after that, after stage 5, you become end stage renal disease, and you're supposed to go into dialysis. So you do your EGFR, see how much that is. It'll be pretty low. A lot of studies have shown that high protein intakes do not affect the kidneys. They cannot, and they will not. You're leaking out albumin because your kidneys are damaged because of diabetes. Now you need to heal that kidney. I'm not saying it's going to reverse back to absolute normal, right? But there are studies which have shown that stage 4 has come down to stage 3, stage 3 has come down to stage 2. right? So there's nothing to lose. I have a friend who had IgA nephropathy. The doctors had given her 6 months to live. They asked her to reduce salt. She asked them back, was salt the reason that I had this IgA nephropathy? They said no. They told her to restrict protein. She asked, was protein the cause? A high protein diet was the cause for this IgA nephropathy? They said no, because she was a vegetarian at that time. She went full blown carnivore. 7 months later, she went back to the doctors. She didn't take the steroids, none of the medications. She went back to the doctors, and the doctors wrote spontaneous remission of IgA nephropathy. And she asked them, have you seen this before? They said no. She's like, you don't want to know how I did it? They said, yeah. She's like, this is what I did. They're like, oh, okay. It's still spontaneous remission. Right? So they weren't willing to accept it. The first carnivore paper from India is going to be published in a couple of months. So I'm letting you know this, Joseph. You're the lucky one to hear about it. It's going to be published. So I've written that. It's a case report. It's the first carnivore paper, and it's just first of many that's going to come out for sure. And it's my uncle who had diabetes for 20 years. For 20 years. And because his diabetes was always uncontrolled, given the fact that he was made to eat a diabetic diet, which was prescribed by the dietitians and nutritionists, which had 260 grams of carbs approximately every day, right? For 20 years, his prescriptions always said uncontrolled diabetes, continue the diabetic diet, and the medications used to change till he ended up with kidney cancer, right? And his kidneys went into CKD stage 4-5. I put him on carnivore. When he said, I don't want to get dialyzed, right? I put him on carnivore. In 2 months, his doctors have written, this patient does not suffer from diabetes and hypertension anymore and does not need any more medications. In 2 months. What doctors couldn't do for 20 years, 2 months. And his kidney profiles remained stable. In fact, the creatinine came down. The urea was still up because of the kidney damage which had already happened. But his creatinine from 3 came down to about 1.8, 1.9, and then was hovering around 2, 2.2, 2.5 when his cancer progressed. Then he went into chemo and all that and went into complications and passed away, unfortunately, because of that. But he told me that you have reversed my diabetes and I want to see you present my case. It's sad that he's not alive to see me present it or to get it published. But yeah, it's dedicated to him. Because he was my patient zero. After I experimented on myself, he was the first one, and he had that faith in me. So, I mean, your patient can go full-blown carnivore if he or she wants. There's no harm. They can have proteins. So they need to track their proteins, do it about maybe 1 to 1.2 grams or 1.5 grams per kilogram of body weight. Get that amount in, get the fats in, and give yourself a chance, man. Cut off all the carbohydrates. That's the cause of your chronic kidney disease.
I guess I just want to add on to that question. Like, in your view, I guess, is there a line where the carnivore approach stopped being safe or appropriate, or is there like maybe a version of carnivore that, or carb elimination, that you think could be safe for maybe stage 4 or stage 5 CKD?
No, there is no situation where I can think of where I would want to limit the carnivore. No, carbs have to be removed for CKD, 100%. Why no? Why won't somebody do that? You've been eating carbs your whole life and you ended up with CKD, right? And that's because you had diabetes, and that diabetes was because of your carbohydrates and the insulin resistance. You have to get insulin sensitive, and the meats. It's not just about removing carbs. It's also about meat, because meat heals. It's got so many essential amino acids, so many other nutrients. There are so many other nutrients which have not yet been identified. Otherwise, why are people healing such things? It's not just about eliminating. It's like when we treat something like an allergy, right? There are two approaches to it. First is we avoid the allergen, and the second is to treat the allergic reaction which has happened. So now I'm removing the things which have caused all the harm, right? Now who's going to heal that? Our body is already damaged, right? It's damaged inside out. Mitochondrial dysfunction, everything's gone haywire. Inflammation, oxidative stress, everything's happened. What's going to heal that? Your body doesn't have the capacity to heal it right now. So what's going to heal that? What are the medications for that? Red meat and eggs. You get those nutrients in and see the magic happen.
That's that's pretty awesome. Dr. Ankur, before you went carnivore, what was your favorite food?
That's a good question. See, I would always enjoy my mutton. I would really, really like a nice pizza, a nice big one. There was one. There's this brand called Slice of Italy. They used to have something called the pizza, which would have 7 to 8 different kinds of meat on it. And so that's why I would have it, and I could have like one full large, pizza. Uh, Always, the butter chicken and naans were a favorite. So everything was around meat and my chocolates and mithais. I had a super sweet tooth. I could have like a whole bowl of mithai, which are Indian desserts, after a meal. Anything sweet. The ice creams and chocolates. I would always have my fridge stuffed with chocolates, and I would have that. I used to love Pringles and Doritos and Cheetos. I used to love that. So I've done my share of ultra processed foods also, and junk food, and even a simple vegetarian dish, with rice and dal. I would love that, and and now when I look back, I couldn't stop eating it, even when I was having just apparently whole grains and dal, and just carbs, Indian vegetarian carbs. I could just go on and on and on and on and on. That's how addictive it is. And your leptin becomes resistant, and your ghrelin is always on, and you never get full. So yeah, so those are some of my favorite foods which are there at the time.
That's pretty awesome. I like pizza too. Yeah, it's one of my yeah, before I was carnivore. So looking back at the start of your journey, were there like any mistakes you made, or like how did you learn from them? Did you ever had like maybe this is in the beginning, like a moment of doubt? Yeah, in the initial stage.
Yeah, so initial stages, I did cheat a little bit, and uh, I went abroad and all, had a few burgers, because I was in Amsterdam, nice meaty burgers, maybe some fries because I was there, and I could see how slow the transition was in my body at that time. I could see the inflammation, and then once I went full blown, I went full blown. So maybe that. Uh, and if my cousin would have sent me the Saladino reel earlier, I would have been into carnivore much earlier. So yeah, but otherwise, I have been pretty strict with it. I do have some sushi sometimes with my son. That's okay, because that's the only cheat I do, which is a little bit of rice. With that, otherwise 99.99%, nothing else.
That's awesome. So we talked about what you were eating before carnivore. So what does a typical day of the week for you now, like your eating look like? Do you keep it pretty consistent? What is your favorite meat? Do you switch things up? Maybe you can walk me through.
Yeah. So my breakfast is always eggs. On the weekdays that I have to go to work, so I do about 5 or 6 eggs in the morning. My lunch is usually any meat patties or minced meat. It could be pork, it could be buff, it could be mutton, it could be chicken mince, or even seafood. Sometimes I do fish and prawns. And then dinners again, the same. So patties or mince, or sometimes we make mutton dishes, which could be Indian style. But I just have that. That's about it, and there's no carbs involved. And so I do that every day. On Sundays, I can do I do bacon and sausages with my eggs. Thursdays I fast, so I have a fasting group. So Thursdays I do a 24-hour fast from Wednesday dinner to Thursday dinner. So we do that together, and that's good fun. So yeah, I mean it's pretty basic. We can mix it up, no issues at all. But I like all of that. So I
That's
love
awesome.
my seafood and everything. Yeah.
Is your family pretty much in sync with your diet, or do they have the same carnivore approach, or do you guys have like a separate? Some could be like in keto, or some could be. Are you just the only one carnivore, or the whole family?
Oh, all three of us are carnivores. We eat the same things. Except my son, when his school reopens, I need to send a little veggie meal with him because the school is vegetarian. But it has to. But I make sure that it's home cooked. It's not cooked in school. I've told the teachers and the principal. I mean, since you don't allow meat, I'm not going to allow him to eat the school food because they all use seed oils.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. Um, I guess, Dr. Ankur, in your life, being carnivore, what's the hardest thing for you? You know, like for me, it has been the social gatherings, the travel, and the cravings in the beginning. You work as a emergency physician, and how is that like for you? What's the hardest thing? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, my social gatherings haven't been hard because I'm satiated all the time. If I know I'm going to my friend's place, now they've started asking us. Earlier, it used to be us asking people, what do you want to eat at home at our place, and how do you want your food to be cooked, or what do you want for vegetarian, and all of that. But now we are being asked, what kind of meat would you want? What should be cooked in? What is allowed to be put inside it? What is not allowed to be put inside it? So it's pretty cool. So people are accepting it, right? So I mean, that's a good thing. Uh, if I have to go to a wedding or something, but I know it's only going to be pure vegetarian, I eat and go. I eat eggs and go. I don't have anything over there, and I'm absolutely fine. And I come back and eat again if I really want to. But otherwise, it's not been a problem. Even for traveling, it's not been a problem. A lot of people have that issue. I can live with eggs and fish. So if I go to a place where I don't get chicken and red meat, I'm definitely going to get eggs, and I'm definitely going to get some seafood. A lot of places have that, so I can do that, and I can always ask the chef to make it in some butter or some ghee, and they actually do comply with that. So till now, touch wood, I haven't had an issue. Let's see, man. Keeping my fingers crossed.
That's great. If you had to describe the impact of carnivore approach on your life in one word, what would you describe it and why?
Game changing. Yeah. I mean, it's completely changed the way I look at life. It completely changed the way I'm living my life. Completely changed the way that I practice medicine now. Completely changed the way I look at my patients and I treat them, and the counseling that I do. So yeah, an absolute game changer.
That's awesome. Dr. Ankur, knowing what you know now, if you can give a piece of advice to someone just starting, or maybe let's be specific with our previous example from our one of our viewer, right? Maybe they are on stage 5 of CKD, and they said they want to start carnivore because they've seen good results from previous diabetes patients. What would you tell them?
Slowly cut off your carbs. Do your water restriction because on CKD you don't want to drink too much of water and go into fluid overload. So you don't want to do that. Sorry, you don't want to do that. Start eating your meat. Keep a tracker. Test yourself every 2 to 3 months. Don't be afraid of red meat and eggs. 1.5 grams per kilogram of body weight of protein. Get that in. Have fatty meats. Have solid fats, not the liquid fats. And by solid fats I mean fatty ribeyes, egg yolks, fatty fish. So go ahead and do that.
Awesome. How do you see carnivore movement evolving in the next 5 to 10 years? Maybe some positive and some good side. Positive being many people will be carnivore because they're seeing good results with many patients curing their diseases, their ailments. And then the negative side could be a censorship. The big pharma does not like, this whole healing thing. And then maybe give you a falsified information. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think it's going to be positive. It's not going to be that easy to censor everyone, uh, and big pharma has a role more in the Western world. I think not in India. I mean, yeah, they do come meet us and promote their products and stuff, uh, but they're not able to dictate things to the doctors over here. That's for sure. At least not in India. That's a good thing. And I mean, the way you have advertisements in the US, I've never seen a drug advertisement in India. That's something which never came, never ever. You know, not on television, not in the print, not on the radio. Nowhere do you see pharma ads, and that's a good thing. So they don't have that power in India. They have that power abroad, probably in the US and the Western world is where the pharma has that power. They don't have the power to advertise their drugs in India. So they don't have any power over the doctors. So if I want my patient to be on red meat instead of Ozempic can't do anything about it, or Novo Nordisk can't do anything about it. And a lot of people are actually going to be carnivore in the next few years, 110% sure. I mean, all of us have got patients. All of us are doing a lot of private practice, metabolic health practice. There's so many metabolic health coaches, so many doctors, from Sean O'Mara, Anna, Anthony Chafee, Sean Baker, Robert Kills, Gary Fetke, everyone, so many, David Unwin, Jen, well, a lot, Robert Lufkin, Nadir Ali, Pradeep Jamnadas, Philip Ovadia, Ken Berry, you name it and you've got it, Paul down south and Professor Bartke, Zoe Harcum, so many people have got so many patients, right? Who are doing carnivore, if not carnivore, but absolutely low carb, animal based. And, it would be in millions, right? I have my own practice. There are a few people again in India who are doing carnivore practices and all that. That would be millions, right? If not millions, 100,000s, 10,000s, whatever, all combined. That's only going to increase because people are going to see the positive effect of carnivore on themselves and their families and their friends, whoever's practicing it, right? So, yeah, it's going to be positive, man. And people are now into AI, right? You ask any AI, physiologically, nutritionally, biochemically, biologically, which is the most superior diet? It'll give you the answer. If people want to do
Yeah,
that.
that's pretty awesome.
Yeah. Forget
Yeah,
about
I use
the
Chat
sponsored
GPT a
studies.
lot.
Yeah, yeah. Why not do that?
Um, Dr. Ankur, if people want to reach out or connect with you, where's the best place to reach you?
Yeah, so I'm on Instagram where my handle is thecarnivore.ep. You can see it over here. I'm on Facebook as Ankur Verma. I'm on LinkedIn as Dr. Ankur Verma. I am on X, which is ANKSV25. And I have my own podcast called the Desi EM Project. That's on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. So you can check it out over there. But I'm most active on Instagram. So yeah, thecarnivore.ep.
That's excellent. I'm going to make sure to post all of it in the description. Dr. Ankur, thank you again for joining me today. I really enjoyed hearing your story and your perspective. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Joseph, for having me, man. I had an absolute blast talking to you.